Hello everybody, it's Joe Ditzel. Back on my bicycle. Hey, it's time for another vlog on a beautiful Friday morning. The end of summer. Friday, August 26th, 2016. School is back. The weather is getting chillier every day, just slightly chillier every day. Fall is knocking. Football is starting. It's a whole new life on campus. Everybody asks me, what's with all the vlogs from Ohio State's campus? And I'll explain. I live in Los Angeles, and I'm visiting relatives who live down the street. It's too easy to come over here. There's miles of paths. It's like a giant bike park. You can ride around here for days and still not cover the entire campus. So if you don't know who I am a speaker, comedian, and writer. And I've had my Gosh Dang YouTube channel since January of 2006. Can you believe it? I think maybe even earlier than that, but January of 2006. And my main web series is called Joe Ditzel Has Some Problems. I added vlogs this summer just to provide a little bit more variety and give viewers kind of a behind the scenes of what I do in the comedy business and in my daily life and what cereal I eat and all the other boring stuff people put in vlogs. But it also gives me a vehicle to talk about subjects that don't necessarily fit into the more structured nature of the Joe Ditzel Has Some Problems series. Like today, this is a video test of shooting at 60 frames per second. So every video I've had prior to this on my vlog has been 30 frames per second. Now this video was shot on a GoPro Hero 4 session, and previous vlogs were shot on this camera or a Polaroid Cube Plus was my original camera, which I still have. So I didn't know if there would be any difference. By the way, if you're riding on this campus and you come upon this little path and you go down it like I did because you thought I would loop around down the hill around this amphitheater, it doesn't. So then you got to stand here like you knew that, and you just stare at this guy mowing the grass, and you try to pretend that you knew the path didn't go around, and that, you just were coming over here to admire the view. And then you head back just like I'm doing here. I didn't know if 60 frames per second would make any difference in my vlogs. So this is the first time I've tried it, just to see the difference. Now, online, if you look up 60 versus 30 frames per second, there's so much conflicting information. I won't even begin to bore you with it. But basically, 60 frames per second is better with fast action. So gamers often use 60 frames per second because of the fast nature of games. Action sports people, guys and girls in action sports, shooting video of them on their surfboard or their snowboard or their skiing or they're jumping out of airplanes or their motorcycles or their bicycles or their mountain bike or whatever it is. Fast action often looks better because of the additional video information in every frame. It smooths it out. However, and I like that, but however, for the most part, I'm just riding like a slowpoke old fat guy on my bike at like 2 miles per hour or whatever it is. But I will say, so I didn't know if it would make any difference in my particular case, but I will say this. I shot this video, took it home, downloaded it to my computer, watched it. I could tell right away it was better. I could tell immediately that it was smoother, that there was less jerkiness, that items, objects like trucks or cars or passersby looked smoother. So just my initial impression with knowing very little about the technical aspects of it, it did look better. Now, was that just my perception because I knew that it was 60 frames per second, that I was reading into it? And let's say I didn't know and you put them side by side and asked me to compare, and would I be able to pick it out? I don't know. But my initial feeling was that it looked much smoother. Some people say by the time you upload it to YouTube and they compress it, you just can't tell the difference anyway. Or they'll say many average people cannot tell the difference. So in my case, I'm not shooting games or high action, fast action videos for the most part. So probably I'll revert back to 30 frames per second, but I wanted to give it a shot, give it an experiment. Watch this person step out in front. Oh, they almost stepped out in front of my bike. I swerved to the left, and I almost got clipped by this guy on a bike. I mean, it's dangerous out here on today's college campuses, folks. It's dangerous. You got to keep your head on a swivel. So I might revert back to 30 frames per second because of some of the inherent disadvantages of 60 frames, which is larger file size, longer rendering times, longer uploading times, and I'm not sure my patience level will accommodate that. Plus, I like to shoot a lot of different kinds of videos and upload them, and to do that effectively, I need to be able to render and upload them quickly. Relatively quickly. But it was amazing that I felt right away that it was a better viewing experience. So I think down the road I might change my mind. But for now, my initial judgment is to stick with 30 frames per second, and they're all 1080p. I shoot at 1080p. Actually, I should qualify that. Some of my videos are in 720p, but for the most part, they're in 1080p. So here I'm riding around the outskirts of the Oval. If you're not familiar with Ohio State, the Oval is the original main campus. And the original main campus itself is huge. The middle of the Oval is a huge lawn with trees at various places. And if this was the original campus, I think this school was founded in like 1860, something like that. Can you imagine going to school here in like 1895 or something, and you come upon this huge, expansive area? It's always been a big school from the very beginning. And the other thing too is Ohio State used to be out in the boonies back in the 1800s. They wanted a remote location. Like many colleges, they wanted a remote location to promote scholarly thinking and an academic atmosphere. And this used to be out in the woods, out in the boonies. And of course, like many metropolitan areas, the city expanded around it. Uh-oh, I'm on the grass. Get off the grass. Wow. How disrespectful, man. We let you come on our campus, ride around and shoot your dumb videos, and you go right on the grass. Thanks. Another thing that is kind of neat about this school, and I've heard it on other campuses, they have a bell tower that rings the bells at the top of the hour, and I think at the bottom of the hour as well. You'll hear that in just a minute. We'll finish out the video listening to that. But it has this cool, collegiate feel. This plane going overhead, I turned down the volume on it, but it was unbelievably loud. One thing you notice when you're riding around town, shooting video, it really is apparent how loud everything is. Airplanes, trucks, construction vehicles, street sweepers, dump trucks especially, are just unbelievably loud. Why don't they work on making those engines quieter? Makes me crazy. So that's pretty much the vlog. If you have any information on 30 frames versus 60 frames that I didn't cover that might help me, or I said something that made no sense about it and you're more knowledgeable, straighten me out, leave a comment. But I think, well, for now, I'm going to go back to 30 frames per second just because for my use, it will probably be enough. We're going to come up on the bell tower here. I'm going to stop talking and let you enjoy the ringing chimes of whatever building houses this bell tower. We'll see you next time.